Every generation has a song that quietly exposes what people are really feeling when no one is watching. For most of us today, that song is Antihero. On the surface, it sounds like a catchy pop track about being the problem in your own life. But underneath the memes and TikToks, Antihero is something much darker. A confession of self-hatred dressed up as a sing-along. It's the soundtrack for everyone who looks in the mirror and thinks, I am the common denominator in every disaster of my life. And the disturbing part is, we relate to it. Why do millions of people happily chant, "It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me," as if it's a joke, when it might actually be the most honest sentence they've ever said? Why do we find comfort in a song that describes the fear of people getting tired of us, leaving us, or secretly resenting us? And what does it say about us that this is one of Taylor Swift's biggest anthems? In this video, we're going to pull Antihero apart psychologically, not as a fan, not as a critic, but as if it were a therapy session recorded over a synth beat. Because hidden inside this song is a blueprint for how self-loathing, perfectionism, and the shadow parts of our personality quietly run our lives. If you've ever felt like the too much friend, the one who ruins the vibe, or the one who will inevitably let everyone down, this is your song. And this analysis is your mirror. Stay with me, because by the end, you won't hear "it's me. I'm the problem" the same way again. You know that line? I'll stare directly at the sun but never in the mirror? That's the first psychological red flag. In one sentence, Taylor describes how most of us live. We can look at everything out there: success, goals, drama, other people's lives, but we can't sit alone with our own reflection. We'll face discomfort, stress, and burnout before we'll face our own inner world, because the outside world might hurt us. This is where the song stops being just relatable and becomes deeply psychological. In Carl Jung's language, Antihero is a conversation with the shadow, the rejected parts of ourselves we daren't want to admit we have. The envy, the pettiness, the insecurity, the fear of being unlovable. Instead of integrating those parts, we shove them down, till they leak out as anxiety, self-sabotage, and those 3 a.m. thoughts you'd never say out loud. Antihero says them out loud. Me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. On the surface, it's self-awareness. Deeper down, it's a kind of preemptive self-attack. If I call myself the problem first, maybe you can't hurt me. If I admit I'm broken, maybe you'll forgive me when I fail. It's self-deprecation as emotional armor. And this is where you might quietly recognize yourself. How many times have you joked about being a mess, walking red flag, or the drama? Not because it's actually funny, but because saying it first feels safer than being exposed by someone else? Antihero isn't just about Taylor's insecurities. It's about a culture where self-loathing has become a coping mechanism. Let's go deeper. Sometimes I feel like everybody is a sexy baby, and I'm a monster on the hill. It's a bizarre image, but psychologically, it's brilliant. That line captures the distortion of self-image that comes with anxiety and perfectionism. Everyone else feels small, sweet, forgivable, and you feel grotesquely large, out of place, and impossible to miss. It's like walking into a room and being convinced that every eye is scanning you for flaws. This is the mind of someone who doesn't feel human in the same way other people are human. They feel like an intruder. When you feel like an intruder in your own life, you start to believe that sooner or later, the people around you will notice it too. That's why the song keeps circling back to fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of being resented, fear of being the burden that no one wants to admit is dragging them down. I have this dream: my daughter-in-law kills me for the money. She thinks I left them in the will. Suddenly the song jumps into a surreal, it's absurd future scenario. But psychologically, it's not absurd at all. It's the fantasy of being so disliked that even your own family only tolerates you for what you can offer them. Once you're gone, they mock you, roll their eyes, and joke about what you would have done. This is catastrophic thinking mixed with shame. When you believe you're fundamentally the problem, your mind doesn't just imagine people leaving. It imagines them celebrating your absence. Here's the twist most listeners never consciously think about. Antihero is not just a confession. It's a loop. The more you tell yourself you're the problem, the more you act like it. You withdraw. You over-apologize. You over-explain. You test people to see if they'll abandon you. shape your behavior around an identity of unworthiness. And ironically, that behavior starts to create the very distance and tension you were afraid of. You don't just think you're the problem, you slowly become it. But here's the part I really want you to notice. Antihero is also an act of rebellion, because to put these thoughts into a song, a massive chart-dominating single, is to drag the shadow into the spotlight. It's like saying, if I am going to feel this way, I refuse to feel it silently in the dark. There's something radically honest about that. Most of us spend our lives curating a persona. We filter our photos, improve our CVs, rehearse the best version of our story. Antihero does the opposite. It takes the worst version of the self, the cringeworthy fears, the neurotic fantasies, and broadcasts them to the world. And here's the paradox. When one person is brave enough to expose their shadow, thousands of people feel less alone in theirs. That's why crowds scream the chorus back to her on tour. It's not just fandom, it's recognition. We are not just listening to Taylor's self-loathing, we're hearing our own. So what do we do with that? If this song feels a little too close to home, there are two paths you can take. The first path is where most people stop. You relate. You feel seen. You add the song to your playlist of songs that understand me, and that's it. It becomes an emotional sedative. You hurt, the song comforts you, repeat. The second path is far more uncomfortable, far more powerful. Instead of just relating to, I'm the problem, you start asking, where does that belief actually come from? Whose voice first made you feel like too much, too messy, too complicated? A parent? A teacher? A partner? Or was it the quiet accumulation of little rejections that taught you? If anything goes wrong, it must be my fault. This is where Antihero stops being an anthem and becomes a starting point for shadowwork. Carl Jung didn't say, eliminate the shadow. He said, make the darkness conscious. The parts of you that you're most embarrassed about don't just vanish because you ignore them. They drive your life from underground. Which you can say, yes, I dislike these parts of myself, but they are mine, and I will learn to hold them. You're no longer just the villain in your story. You become the author. And that's the subtle shift hidden inside a pop song chorus. At first, I'm the problem sounds like pure self-blame. But if you stay with it long enough, it can become something very different. If I'm part of the problem, then I'm also part of the solution. So the next time you hear that chorus, it's me, hi, I'm the problem. It's me, try listening to it as a question instead of a verdict. Where in your life are you taking responsibility for things that were never yours to carry? Where are you attacking yourself before anyone else can? And what would it look like if, instead of singing that line with pure self-hatred, you sang it with a little bit of curiosity? Maybe even compassion. Because here's the truth beneath the song. You are not the monster on the hill. You are a human being who learned to survive by turning on yourself first. Unlearning that is hard. It takes time. It might take therapy, journaling, and 1,000 quiet moments where you choose not to believe the most brutal thoughts your mind throws at you. But you're not doing it alone. Millions of people scream this chorus because they are wrestling with the same internal war. And sometimes a 3-minute pop song is the doorway into that realization. If this breakdown helped you hear Antihero in a new way, consider sticking around. Here, we don't just react to music. We dive into the psychological and philosophical stories behind it, revealing the stuff we all live through, often without even realizing it. So if you want more deep dives into songs, albums, and the minds behind them, hit subscribe. Tap like so more people find this video, and tell me in the comments, which Taylor Swift song should we dissect next? And what does it reveal about you? Because the music we love is rarely random. It's a mirror. And maybe it's finally time to look.